If you agree with me that the substance of a story is not nearly as important as the way the story is told, here is an offline demonstration of Ham Smythe's storytelling skills.
Frozen pipes under your house, and now you fix that.
Oh.
Oh, come on.
What did I do?
You called up and got a plumber out there.
Oh.
They're this big fat guy.
What's this?
This is Ham outsmarting himself, out-cuting himself.
There was a big black guy that he was going under there and trying to find out what was wrong with the plumbing.
He's so mean.
And there's a hole in the foundation where he could barely get through. But he's about 2/3 of the way through and he's almost stuck. And I said, don't pay any attention to the snake.
Hey, you know that thing is leaking to this day.
He can't help himself.
So
He will,
feet
though.
kicking. He almost broke the foundation. And I said, I was just kidding. He wouldn't go back. They said for somebody else.
And his wife is so elevated. She got so upset with him.
Don't pay attention to the snake.
Well, you said the snake likes to stay out at the other end.
Main.
He's probably over in the other part of the house. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, that was your friend that you rode on the ski lift with her, and she was bringing her husband there for his last trip.
He had Alzheimer's. Well, he would get lost though, and she couldn't. And I said, well, next time you go, I told him just leave him at home and tell him what a good time he had when they get back.
You told her that?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't tell her that.
Wynn and I were skiing together, and there was one of the lifts.
You were always a respectful distance behind.
Well, what I'm telling is I'm coming around and he's already there, ready to go, and I ski up behind him and he picks up his left ski and puts it down right across my right ski. So I'm pinned.
Didn't on purpose.
Back like this, and here comes the chair around to hit us. I said, Smith, lift your left foot. That's all he had to do. Well, why should I lift my left foot? Well, at that time, here comes the
boom
chair. It's a. We go down, man. There's the poles, and the glasses, and everything is lying around. They had to stop the lift. All you had to do was just lift your damn left foot.
Lift.
No, had to give him.
And to say he was skiing out of control doesn't quite answer the situation, does it?
No.
And he got right next to us and took this fall, and boom! It went 18 miles away. There was
Have you
an
ever heard
avalanche.
of Mountain Ring?
Yeah, the ring of 18 miles away, there was an avalanche that took out 3 porta potties. Did you know that? I'm telling you, that was the hardest lick I ever did.
I'd forgotten that. That was.
I remember blacks and all like that, and I was trying to do my best job, and I wound up being a pretty fast skier.
But when your head
She
hit
was
that,
just gorgeous.
that was as hard a lick as I ever heard a human being.
It was.
it still rings from time to time, and now I know why it's still ringing.
Probably still, the mountains does too.
Well, it gives hope for these boys who play football and have these concussions.
Well,
You can outlive it.
Hey, wait a minute. You're saying that they should look to Ham for hope?
well, look, we skiing together when that guy who came over here for the Olympics, who was this great-looking German guy that had a one-piece knitted red form-fitting suit that went all the way up there, and they named that whole area for him. What was his name?
Sven.
No.
Oh, was it at Park City or?
I think it was at the fancy place right across from Park City.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Deer Valley.
Deer Valley.
Deer Valley, and they named this big lodge for whatever
It wasn't
his name
Sepp
was.
Rush, was it?
No, but what he was
Something
doing
like
is
in that price range.
he had somebody named Susie Chapstick or something like that.
Have you ever been
And the two
skiing
of
at
them
all
were skiing
or
down
any of those
next to
places?
each other, and it was a line of pine trees that just separated. And me and whoever else I was skiing with, I thought it was you. We skied down and we told everybody from then on, well, we've been skiing with, what's his name?
Oh.
It was a world famous guy. And
I know exactly who you're talking about, and I can't think of his name. Stein Erickson. That's
Sven
it.
Erickson?
Stein Erickson.
Stein
That's it.
Erickson.
Yeah.
he brought his whole team of Olympians over here, and they talk skiing and other thing up and down and anywhere, and anybody was crazy that went with him, because like you say, he was convinced, he was such a confident guy that he could, whatever happened, he was going to figure a way out of it.
Yeah.
Birch's book.
Well, he had a wooden prop on some little plane, and the tip of it got knocked off. And he said, well, you can't fly that thing. So he goes and gets him a saw and figures out how much got sawed off. He sawed that off from the other side of the prop and took off. He'll get revved up a little more, of course, but he made it.
He also took one of his more grotesque ones, I think, is he set out across the Strait of Florida down there to Cuba. Cuba, as the Kennedys would say.
Yeah.
And it was a 90-minute flight, and he had 89 minutes worth of gasoline. And he landed on the beach, just short of the beach. He landed in the water. You know that's
No, I hadn't heard
that embossing that you stole from me that time.
I knew that was going to come up. And I thought about calling Steve Yee, if I could find him, and bringing him last night. But I would love to have had him then. I just got too many things to do, and I forgot to call him.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm sitting there.
There I am.
Guy who I knew, we were flying to New York, and guy came rolling up in a wheelchair, and I saw him. I said, "Is that Bill Eggleston?" No, it's some old guy like that. Well, they rolled him in there, and he was Eggleston. They put him it was him sitting in first class, which has a single seat, I guess, on there. And so when I got on, I said, "Bill, is that you?" He said, "Well, yes." And he already had a Bloody Mary. That was the first one he had.
Oh, okay.
He had one more during the flight, and I said, "I'm Ham," and I don't think he recognized who I was. That's fine. So I go, when we get off of the damn thing, Eggleston grabbed me by the wrist and said, "Look, I want you to come to my opening Saturday night. I've changed agents, and we're gonna." And I said, "I'm."
That in New York or what? Where?
That was on. Yeah, we were landing in New York. I said, "I've got to go to Boston that day, and I won't be able to come to your thing that night." And he said, "Well, I'm sorry about that, because it's really going to be a nice thing." I heard later that they sold one photograph for $50,000,
Wow.
which is pretty good. But they
pretty good.
expected to sell more.
I don't know if it's that good for Eggleston, because I expect some of his are in the big figures.
Well, they
Serious
started
money.
blowing those things up.
Yeah.
And somebody who was collecting his stuff sued him for ruining the value of his collection.
I'll tell you a little something about that.
But it turned out the things were more valuable,
Yeah.
and so they, no reason to sue after that.
I first met Bill Eggleston at somebody's party. And it was like when I first talked to Craig, I thought, this guy is the biggest bullshitter I've ever met in my life.
You told me that.
About Craig.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I didn't tell you that about Big Eggleston, but I thought the same thing about Eggleston. He was telling me about
I told him
The
not,
pain.
by the way.
the pains he went to do these this particular color process, which was dye transfer color.
Separations.
And it's color separation and so on. And that only one person would he allow to try to develop his work and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. I thought, and I said, this guy will never amount to diddly squat. He's just a blowhard. And the next thing I knew, he was teaching at Harvard, and he was just, he was the biggest thing in town.
Well, the folks at MAM, what is it, the Museum of Modern Art,
Mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just sang his praises. They just love him, and they had whole exhibits of his work up there, and it's a big deal when all that happens.
University of Colorado.
He's
He's
one of the-
Alfred Packer.
He was one of the ones who
He was a
cannibalized.
cannibal.
Yeah,
No,
I say he's one of the surviving members.
he was the cannibal. And then the kids out there named the dining hall for him.
Now, it's not Alfred Packer. It's Alfred.
Hey,
Alfred. A-L-F-O-R-D. Alfred Packer.
And the
That's
school
a scream.
hated it, but finally they just succumbed and said, "Okay, that's what it is."
Yeah.
Said sooner or later people will forget about him and we'll go on our merry way.
Is this yours?
What?
This.
You can't have it. I've been asked to leave
There you
other
go.
places, but my
that's my
mom
nephew.
picks up and said, "Is this your
It
coat?"
really is. I mean,
Yeah, it's my coat.
Boy,
I'll
that's
see you for
Well,
tomorrow
we
night.
we have a friend who's an
You know,
actor.
he's
He
off
already
there
told us that
definite
joke. It's an
Where are you
inside
gonna see us
joke.
when?
inside joke.
Mama, we've got to go to bed so these folks can go home.
Well, we don't know there, 'cause we were supposed to
I
go
don't know,
to
that's up to him. I'm
We were
just,
supposed to